This is the Get a Life Podcast, Ex-Cult Conversations.
Everyone, welcome back to Get a Life Podcast, Ex-Cult Conversations. I'm Cheryl, and I am here with Richard and a very special guest that everybody has been wanting on for a long time, James DiFiore. Welcome, James.
Hi, Cheryl. Hi, Richard. How are you guys?
This has been a long time coming to have you on here, so we're grateful that you joined us.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate that.
Yeah. You know, we are winding down this year, and we really wanted to give a huge shout out to you for, man, the absolute platform and foundation that you have given ex-members and Get a Life Podcast. We would not be sitting here doing this had it not been for you. It just wouldn't have happened. So today I want to just put all together, I want people to see how much you have done for Get a Life. And we're going to go through a lot of the podcasts that you have done with us. But first of all, there is this big, huge question that everybody asks us when they hear about James DiFiore and they, jump onto Blackballed and they start scrolling through all of the ex-members you've had on and everything that you've dove into the Plymouth Brethren Christian Church. And the question is, why? Why would someone want to take on members, for one thing? And why would you pick the Plymouth Brethren Christian Church and decide to be like, hey, I help these guys out? Whatever prompted you to take on a cult like this?
I wish I could say it was for the money, but wasn't.
Yeah, no money in this. As much as they think inside that there is no money in this.
And I don't really think I picked, it's a good question actually, because I really think I picked the Plymouth Brethren. Like I didn't think to myself, there's a lot of cults, let's pick one. It landed on my lap. When we heard about the David Wallace, Richard Marsh thing, I had known David previously years ago from when he worked me over during the Patrick Brown scandal. A true story. And if I'm getting the chronology right, I met Richard through David. And then I heard of you through Richard and started to talk to you. And I just thought your story was so compelling. And it was attached to an organization that I had never heard of before, but was amazed, perplexed, and infuriated that not only did they have all these cozy relationships with conservative politicians worldwide, but that they also, like many other sects of Christianity and other religions, I assume, were really awful in how they handled family situations and sexual abuse and oppression of women and things like that. So I thought to myself, like, this is not something I'm an expert in. My claim to fame for a religion is that I hate it, right? So it wasn't fueled by any, desire to right a wrong in how religion was being, used. But because I was able to speak with Richard firsthand and yourself firsthand, and a bunch of others, it just made me feel like this was something worth fighting for, or at the very least, it was worth giving people an opportunity to speak about their experiences. And really, I thank you for all that intro stuff. It's really humbling and everything. But I'm personally, the way I feel about it is that you are brave, Richard is brave, all these people that came out, Lane, others, to tell their story. All I did was ask the questions and let people talk. And so I always feel like you guys did me a favor rather than the other way around.
Yeah, so kind of in summary, you were wandering through the woods, you find a sleeping grizzly bear and you get a gnarly stick and poke it up its anus just to see what happens. Is that?
I guess that's a metaphor. Yeah. That's
a metaphor.
Yeah. But it was, it was really the incestuous relationship with politics that solidified it for me. Not that your stories would have been any different or any less compelling, but I feel like the hubris that the Plymouth Brethren Christian Church has and that self-righteousness that it has is due in large part to the fact that they feel like they're untouchable because of these cozy relationships that they have.
Yeah.
And so that made it extra compelling. And then, of course, Cheryl, you came on the show and that sort of set it off for ex-members. I think the courage that you show because of the story that tragic story that you have, I think made others feel a lot more willing and comfortable to come forward and to talk to me. So I really owe you guys money. So I'll give you 100% of what I've made since I've been starting the podcast.
It's interesting you say that because, there's lots of cults and lots of organizations that treat their own people very badly. But the fact that the Brethren are messing with politics, it's actually affecting everyone. It's not just the Brethren and their members and their ex-members. It's actually screwing up the whole country. And when it comes to these PPE scandals where they're taking, people use the word billions lightly, but actually billions of public money. It's taxpayer money, and I know none of us earn enough to actually pay taxes, but a lot of people actually do pay taxes, and it's ending up in these guys' pockets thanks to these political connections. So we're doing the whole country a favor by exposing this stuff. It's not just about helping ex-brethren.
I'm surprised that I'm not surprised that there hasn't been a media outlet that's just carried the torch for this story. Because of the era that we live in, of how politically correct things kind of are right now, I'm surprised that a writer hasn't decided, or a reporter, to put out the headline, group notorious for oppressing women and covering up sex abuse receives billions of dollars in government contracts. Like I thought that was the era that we lived in. But this story is proving that I guess there are exceptions.
What?
And
a lot about politics. I mean, you've been in it for a while. Why do you think that mainstream media is not picking this up the way that they should be?
Gerald Chapor. I have some experience of what it's like to have a story spiked for political reasons. And it was in 2018. I was doing I was investigating a story about a certain CBC anchor who has since retired, has hair like me. And the story was that the CBC, with public money, paid to silence the mistresses that he had throughout the years that also worked in the newsroom at CBC. And it was going well. I was hired by Post Media. I was doing it for National Post. And after 2 weeks, I get a call from my editor who asked me if I knew who Jamie Watt was. And I said, yes. He's the person that runs this crisis management firm called Navigator. And he said, Jamie Watt called us, and apparently you called one of this anchor's ex-employees and was really hard on her. And I'm like, I was just asking her questions. I was not very hard on her at all. In fact, for James standards, I was downright peachy with her. I was very polite. But long story short, they canceled my contract during that phone call. All it took was a phone call from someone powerful, Jamie Watt, to the legal department. To the legal department.
Who Gerald Chapor is.
Gerald Chapor is the general counsel for the Plymouth Brethren Christian Church. He used to be the general counsel for the Conservative Party of Canada and Stephen Harper's personal attorney. If I'm not mistaken, I believe he was also at one time Pierre Poilievre's personal attorney. That could be wrong, but I thought that was the case. Either way, let's just go with the first three. And so just to circle back to your question, the answer that I would give you is that if a legal department, say the Plymouth Brethren are contacted by a reporter and someone wants to do a story, I feel like it's highly likely that that person would contact some higher up at the Plymouth Brethren who would contact Gerald Chapor, and then Gerald Chapor, former attorney for the Prime Minister, would then call the lawyers at National Post, Toronto Star, whoever, Post Media, and be like, I don't think you want to do this. And lawyers are weird. There's a whole hierarchy and the way that they relate to one another. If you're just coming out of law school, you might as well be the rookie on the hockey team who has to go fetch everyone's lunch and gets hazed and all that. But someone as renowned as Gerald Chapor calling the legal department of Torstar or Post Media is probably all it takes for them to then call the editor and be like, you have to spike the story.
And he was the guy who was hired to, he was hired to find me, and he then in turn hired David Wallace.
Yeah.
And, you know, so he was the kind of the evil genius behind the whole thing. And even going back nearly 20 years, he was hired to bring down, you know, one of the predecessors of Get a Life, which was, you know, it wasn't a podcast, it was a website, peebs.net. And he spent, I don't know, 7 or 8 years hunting down this guy in Vermont who had published a, you know, by today's standards, very mild website criticizing the Brethren. You know, so he's the Brethren's attack dog lawyer. I mean, there's one point I want to make here that lawyers, you know, people say, oh, all lawyers are bad. I mean, there's good lawyers, there's bad lawyers. Even bad people, even criminals, should have a lawyer to defend them. So, but there's a certain class of lawyers whose job is to attack innocent people. And Gerald Chapor comes into that category. And that's a very, very dirty business indeed. The people they go after, they know they are innocent. And yet they'll use every twist of the law that they can to oppress and try and drag people down.
Yeah, that's kind of feel like what will be their undoing.
Yeah.
You know, is that need to save face or something, you know, like, you know, like they just, and again, that's the hubris though, that they literally feel like they don't have to answer for anything. Why should we have to answer for? It's like ex-wife syndrome. Just no accountability whatsoever. Right? I'm just speaking for myself.
Yeah.
Just don't send me emails, please.
Yeah. Well, exactly. I mean, when the leader of the church is certified to be infallible, then obviously there's no accountability because he can't do anything wrong.
The funny thing is he is showing signs of weakness. I mean, they have the universal meetings going on this weekend.
Oh, right now, actually, yeah.
Yeah, right now as we are recording this. Or
I wish I knew a hacker that could patch us right in, screen on screen.
Right?
Like,
And supposedly his usual hour-long sessions are only half an hour right now, and he seems off. So
now, you don't wish him dead or anything, do you? Do you wish him dead? No.
Me.
I think it would be better if he just lived a long suffering life, right? Like, what did Mother Teresa say about pain and suffering? Those are just kisses from Jesus or something.
Yeah. One of the sequels to Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, I think, was called The Long Dark Evening of the Soul. I think we could wish him that.
Yes, I agree.
Much as they pray for our death out here, I don't wish that on them. Right?
No, you can't, because then you become them.
Exactly. And that's not the point. What's going to, I mean, we're not going to get anything done by that, right? The thing is I want him, my hope in all of this is that he watches and hears enough of this, that it breaks him down to become, he just needs to get to the truth. Let's just get to the truth.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it would be so easy to turn things around in there. It really would. Accountability brings change. The thing is they're so afraid of change in there that they block out their accountability. And if he would just be like, okay, you know what? This happened, this happened, this happened. And let's bring in the police. Let's deal with this pedophile. Let's deal with this situation. Let's deal with this wife beater. Let's deal with all of this.
That would kill the cult.
A mainstream Christian church. He would have
you don't think that would kill the cult? You don't think that would if you strip away accountability, then eventually the more you unpack it, the more likely it will be that people will leave.
Yeah, right? But the thing is when true accountability happens, yes, there's going to be chaos no matter what, but change will happen out of that. Gives this opportunity for an actual mainstream Christian church to be birthed out of it. Right. Absolutely, there's going to be people that leave it, right? Absolutely. The thing is that he needs to go back to what is diseasing the whole cult, right? What's diseasing the church that makes it this cult. And if he could just sit back and realize, hey, you know, I just got a report of, you know, this pedophile that's been abusing this child or these children, just take care of him. Just people will respect that. Like the way that they try and save face is why they are in the predicament they are in. You know, if they would just deal with the situation. I understand that this isn't the first cult that's had this kind of a situation. I mean, you hear this in all the cults, right? You hear this. I mean, it's Catholic Church.
But you never hear about the other cults having all this political cash.
No, and that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today is what do you think it would take to separate politics from religion? Because they use each other, right? They know that they need each other. What do you think it would take to separate that? I mean, this is a long-standing issue we have on this planet.
Yeah, that's a $1 million question in a way.
Yeah.
There is for as far as the Plymouth Brethren goes, the cushion between them and the government are these companies, these UBT companies. So they could, and I'm sure they do, easily argue that the companies have nothing to do with the church, right? Like I think that's what they try to sell. Even though when you work at one of their companies, you can't eat lunch with a member of the Plymouth Brethren. That's a good question. I wish I had the answer because we have enshrined in our rights of freedom of religion and expression. But we also have, not in Canada, but in the United States, they have this doctrine basically of separation of church and state. It's spelled out. And in Canada, I don't think we really have that. I don't think we have it spelled out like that. I could be wrong about that. I don't know if in the Charter of Rights it says anything about secularism or whether or not we have to build a firewall between church and state. I think most people just assume that we should. But one way of possibly really kind of putting the gears to religious groups would be to stop making them exempt for things like property taxes.
Yeah, exactly.
And make them account for the money they receive. The most blatant examples of robbery that I can think of in my life are two things. One is the mafia going to the mom and pop stand and getting protection money, and then the other thing are those fucking baskets that they pull out for Catholic Church, anyways, because that's what. And I used to watch people throw money in there, and it was like, and I'd watch it go to the back, and I would literally imagine like myself just like, yeah, like I'm in the money, like or something, because there's no accountability for it. Do you think it all gets reported? No. Does any of it get reported? Are they even like supposed to? I don't know how any of it works. I wish I was a little bit more up to speed on that, but that would be my first thing. I would force an audit, like a monthly audit. No, never mind every 5 years or something. A monthly audit for churches and religious organizations that are tax exempt, and I would waive the property tax thing. And I'd say take it out of your donations if you really like, you have a problem.
Yeah, and not just the property tax, their whole charitable status.
Yeah.
I mean, if the point is about church like Plymouth Brethren Christian Church is that, they've got this little charity wing, which in financial terms compared to their total income is tiny. It's like 2% of the money they take in tax-free goes to RRT. The rest is all internal to the church. Well, fine, give them tax exemption on the 2%, but tax them on the 98%. Yeah. Because the fact is, there's the lines between business and religion and charity have all got so blurred that I think they should treat every religion as a business, except for the areas in which it specifically can prove that the money it's spending is for charitable purposes. Yeah. And I think that would solve the whole problem overnight.
I did a story once, just like maybe 2007, and it was I wanted to know what it would be like to be attempted to be recruited by Scientology. So I don't know. I don't know if it's still there or not, but there was a Scientology place on Yonge Street near Dundas, I think. And I was kind of wondering. I was looking in the window. And sure enough, someone tapped me on the shoulder and showed L. Ron Hubbard's book about Dianetics, and then sat me down and I held the cans. And here's the thing about the can. You know what they really are? It's like the same technology as like a lie detector. It just shows spikes in your pulse. That's all it really is, right? Yeah. And so they said, think of something that's really upsetting to you. And I had just had a bad breakup. And when I thought of it, I saw the thing fly, right? Like the needle flew up. But that's when the grift starts, right? They're like, those are the theons. Yeah. Trying to escape your body. You're holding them in. We can help you.
And here's the price list.
And then I went in and there's just like a 10-page contract that they want you to sign right away before you can join. And it asks for your mother's banking information and things like that.
Wow.
So I'm sitting in this room with this book and this, like, I called it an exam. I was like, like it was that long. And I just left and I put the paper up my shirt and left the book there and I left. they fucking like followed me out of the building and started walking behind me. And I just turned around. And I'm like, you don't want to walk behind me. Like I just acted crazy for a second, and they were like this, and then I left. I wish I still had that sheet of paper though. It was crazy. But here's the point I'm trying to make is that they sat a very, very long-winded way to make this point is that the property that they had would have been $1.1 million a year in property taxes because of such how valuable the real estate was. And they never had to pay a cent. Right.
Yeah.
So
Crazy.
that is the kind of thing that I think is it might chip away at this. But honestly, the poison pill for the PBCC to me is their relationship with politics, because it's unlike anything I've ever seen, except maybe the Catholics. But that was really more about donating to Catholic charities. That wasn't really about Catholic businesses. This is totally unique in that regard. I don't know how many Jehovah's Witness businesses there are or Scientology businesses there are that are completely funded by governments. And that's where they're unique, I think.
Yeah. You did a podcast just recently with Canadian Politics Are Boring, and I was listening to it, and I'm not sure if it was you or if it was one of the hosts that had said we were talking about Stephen Harper, and somebody had said that it's got to go far beyond who Stephen Harper and Pierre, like it's the track record of them being involved in politics has to extend beyond that. And I had never thought of it until I had heard it like that, and I'm like, absolutely, of course it would have had to, right? I think Stephen Harper was when it was first blown up into media, when everybody showed up on the front row of his victory speech, right?
Yeah.
Like, did that sit with you? Do you think that it's gone beyond? Like, how far back do you think this could extend to?
I think probably provincially, we may have seen that it went far back, but I can't really. I mean, I don't know the answer to that, first of all, but I don't remember Brian Mulroney's government being really socially conservative.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so I think that that's kind of a necessary trait in order to like be partners with the PBCC. My short answer is I don't know how far back it went, but my second answer is I don't think it goes as far back in Canada as maybe we would like to think, because, you know, they've been around here for so long. Maybe it was concentrated more municipally back then. That's a possibility because of how entrenched they are in whatever locality that they're in. So I could see like whatever region or municipality, Maple Creek falls under, there might have been something there. But I don't know, federal government and provincial government, I think it was a lot less, if it was even there at all. I think you're right. I think it blew up with Stephen Harper. It's funny though that even when you say that, and I say that as well, as I repeat what you just said, is there is no mainstream knowledge of the swearing on the Bible or the people in the front row. It's not common knowledge even to this day. So they have managed to still be able to sort of hide who they really are. Again, I think because Gerald Chapor calls other lawyers at media companies and says, don't do this, and they just listen. You know, so that something's going to have to change in that world. Maybe Gerald Chapor's untimely death or dementia might finally bring all this to light. You know, I'm not threatening Gerald Chapor. I'm not. It's been untimely.
Brethren didn't really. It was Bruce Hales who brought the Brethren into politics in a big way. And he kind of started in the late 90s. And then there was a Liberal government in Canada at that time, and it was only when Harper got in, with the Brethren's help, that they actually had that contact in government, that leverage in government, which they've been exercising ever since. And partly the reason they hate Trudeau is not because they hate his policies, it's just because they got no grasp on him. They've got no control of the guy. They want the guy that they own in his place. They don't really care what Trudeau does. He's just blocking the throne from their guy. Another interesting thing I found out very recently about Chipeur is that back when, there was kind of a crisis in the Conservative Party in Canada. It kind of was split into two pieces, wasn't it? There was the Reform Party and the Conservatives, and the only way they could win was to unite them. Chipeur was absolutely key in the formation of the modern Conservatives, and he was also absolutely key in persuading Stephen Harper to run for Prime Minister. There was a meeting held at Gerald Chapor's house in which they dragged Stephen Harper in, and it was Gerald Chapor and Ezra Levant and a few other people, and they basically put him under a whole load of pressure and told him, look, you've got to run for PM. And that meeting was held at Gerald Chapor's house, which sort of gives you an idea of, he's like the kingmaker in conservative politics.
That's the same meeting where Ezra Levant decided not to run in the riding that he...
Yeah, and then Ezra Levant drops out to let Stephen run. Yeah. And of course, Ezra Levant and Gerald Chapor were partners together in the same law firm, or rather it was Chipeur Advocates was the law firm, and Levant was working for them along with Jonathan Dennis, who, so it's a very... Gerald Chapor is right embedded in the power structure of the Conservative Party. And then, of course, Gerald Chapor is the business partner of Pierre Poilievre in the robocalls business. So, he's always there. There's this ugly face lurking in the background. But, he's like Kissinger,
only without all the charm and good temperament.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't really get involved in politics. I really don't. But there's one thing that doesn't sit with me right now. And I'm just going to speak this out to the ex-members that I know of here in Canada that are really wanting Pierre in as prime minister. It's not a good idea, right? Like, I am nowhere on the spectrum. I don't consider myself left. I don't consider myself right. I don't even know what I consider myself. All I know is that when I see ex-members promote Pierre, I want you to understand you're promoting money getting back and power getting back into the Plymouth Brethren Christian Church. It's just anybody conservative at this point in time that has a history with Chipeur, has a history with Stephen Harper, is a bad move for the movement that we are trying to do. And I'm not going to lie, I'm going to go on a little bit of a Cheryl rant here. It really frustrates me and hurts when I have conversations with people about Harper, and all this thing is how this ties that the PBCC have in with the Conservatives. Yet I see posts that they make and conversations that they have of supporting Pierre. Come on, you guys, wake the fuck up. Like, if you are going to be advocating for Pierre to come in as prime minister here in Canada, you are literally putting an open pocket into the PBCC, because maybe it might not be necessarily just Pierre, but Pierre, like anybody in that group is going to be having a line. The pockets are going to all line up. So I just caution you is understand what it is that you think you need. We're all tired of Trudeau. Everybody's tired of Trudeau here. We're all tired of him, especially here in Alberta. I mean, we are. Come on, like, understand like what it is. What for me, my whole purpose of doing what I'm doing is to try and unravel the PBCC for the safety of my family, my nieces, my nephews, future generations. That's where my allegiance lays right now. That's why I do what I do. No way in hell would I tick Pierre Poilievre's name on a box. That goes completely right up against the movement that we are trying to do. So I'm just putting that out there to the ex-members, to those people who are saying that they are supporting me and what we're doing and the movement that we are trying to do. Yet I see all these posts time after time supporting Pierre. It just doesn't make sense. So I just suggest that you do your research, you understand who Pierre's connections are. And I'm not saying vote for Trudeau. I mean, I know we don't have many choices, but the thing is if you're voting for Pierre, you are voting for the PBCC.
Absolutely. I always tell everybody to vote NDP because they haven't had a chance to wreck the family car yet. I think that they deserve one.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I just saw a post today on Twitter, on X. Stephen Harper is starting a fundraising campaign to get Pierre in. He's trying to collect 500. He's trying to collect $500,000. So it's Stephen Harper, who's intimately connected with the Plymouth Brethren Christian Church, doing a fundraising campaign. Now, where do you think a lot of that $500,000 is going to come from? It's going to come from the PBCC. Yeah. It's funneling straight in.
Maybe we need to concentrate on finding out when this money is doled out, but in real time, because we always have to play catch up, right? We always have to figure out, the PPE contracts. We didn't really know about that until months and months later. Right?
Yeah, there's this crazy system whereby the PACs don't have to submit their accounts until after the election. I mean, that's just too late then.
And
They
also,
should have to get permission ahead of time to take the donation and get it signed off before they get the money.
exactly. But I guess what it would require, and this is where my mind goes like blank because I'm not made of this type of organizational skill, but it would require like finding out in the Ministry of Health in Alberta, federally or whatever, what are all the contracts coming up? What are they for? Who's bidding them? That this information I believe is available in real time. I could be wrong about that. But looking at for it in hindsight kind of ruins it because we already were granted the money.
Yeah.
And maybe we can start honestly, this is how stupid our world is right now. We would probably have a better shot at ruining PBCC businesses through hashtags that trend rather than actual sound reporting. I'm not even kidding.
Yeah, it's true. It's absolutely
cult cash
true.
or something, and then put all the details underneath it in a little article or something like that. People be like, cult cash? What do you mean? Oh my God, that's crazy. but if you said like 6 months later, did you know the money that they got through the Board of Health and everyone's already tuned out?
It's not news anymore, is it?
Exactly.
Yeah. No, that's very true.
It's just it's something that keeps me up at night. When I wake up in the middle of the night, it is my mind goes to where we are sitting in Canada, what I'm trying, like what all of us ex-members have been trying to do. And yet, I do not trust Pierre. I do not trust Stephen Harper. And the PBCC and the state that they are in right now, we have uncovered, need conservative in more than ever right now. They need it. They need that support in government to be able to not crumble the way that they know that they're going to start crumbling.
Yeah.
It's just watch. Please watch for the reasons why you're voting. And I know sometimes I just get to the point. I get very, very angry and I want to draw a line in the sand where I'm saying, you know what? Don't come to me. Don't be coming to me when you're coming to me supporting all this, yet you're putting someone in power that is going completely up against what we are doing. So
it's nothing to do with their politics. It's nothing to do with their left wing or right wing. It's where they're getting their money and influence from.
Yeah. And you almost have to remove the whole politics part out of this, right? You have to remove it all out of it and just understand the logic of what's happening in behind. Right?
Yeah. They should just vote for the People's Party. Honestly, if they're conservative and they don't feel like the NDP or the Liberals are going to do it for them, just vote for Bernier's party.
Yeah. What was it? ABC? Anything but conservative.
Yeah. One of the things I hate the most about Canadian politics is that revolving door between left and conservatives.
Yes.
And then what happens is everyone gets people had Mulroney regime fatigue, right? So they voted in. At the time it was John Turner, like whatever. They had Mulroney fatigue, and then they had Chrétien, Paul Martin fatigue, so they voted in Harper. Then we all had Harper fatigue, so we voted in Trudeau. Now everyone has Trudeau fatigue, so we're going to vote in Poilievre. It's funny because there's I understand why I don't like the Trudeau government for various reasons. But I'm also like, not one of these people that is like the sky's falling because Stephen Harper or Trudeau is prime minister. What makes Poilievre different for me is that he does have connections that he will most certainly exercise with this cult, but also Stephen Harper, whether you loved him or hated him, managed for a conservative to govern pretty close to the center for a conservative person. He did a lot of things that were like, holy shit, like muzzling scientists and things like that. But really at the end of the day, did the sky fall after the 8 or 9 years that he was in office or however long it was? Were we like destitute as a nation? Were we ranked like last on the, quality of life index? No, it was fine. Like you didn't like him. I didn't like him. That's great. Trudeau, same thing. Like the sky's not going to fall because this guy's in office. But I think people we're entering an election cycle where you're not voting for anyone, you're voting against people. So even people that are ex-members of the PBCC that know that Poilievre has a bunch of deep contacts within that cult, they might plug their nose and vote for him because they hate Trudeau that much.
And that's what frustrates me. It's just, I've cried over this. So I'm not I actually wasn't even planning on talking about this today. I have literally
There's no crying in podcasts, Cheryl.
That's how much it's affected me. It's because this hours we put into this, like this just us volunteering our time, trying to get this movement going. And then you have all these people that are supporting it. And then in the next breath, they hate Trudeau. So then they think their only option is Pierre. Well, I guess my point I'm reiterating again is if you vote for Pierre, I just draw that. I don't want to hear from you because you are supporting Bruce Harold. You are supporting UBT. You are supporting all those priests. You are supporting pedophiles. You are supporting all these people who are going to now be financed. Maybe it's not Pierre directly, but Stephen Harper is hand in hand with Pierre, which makes the PBCC right there. We know the history and we know how much they are hurting right now. And they want the conservatives in order to be able to survive. I'm just saying, don't please, if you are genuinely concerned about supporting this movement that we've got going, just watch what you're doing. Just you've got to understand what you're doing. Don't do it because you hate Trudeau. I mean, I was a hardcore conservative my entire life. My husband was in the oil patch, which made me that just suited his job, right? It wasn't until I started uncovering all this. It was hard. It was hard for me to give up the conservative pushing, I guess, it was just easy to do that because it supported my husband's job. Never in my life would I ever go back to supporting someone who even has the slightest drop of maybe having an affiliation with the PBCC while it is in the state it is in. Yeah.
I agree.
Okay, I wanted to go on. We're just going to move on here because we need to. I want to go through everything that you have helped us with. And I know that you don't like thinking that you've helped us. Once you see this, you're going to realize why we are so grateful for you. So we're going to go through there's 40 some of them. So we're just going to quickly go through these.
This is my favorite picture of Richard, by the way. It looks like he's confessing his love to me on a boat or something. You know?
Where was this taken?
Oh, that was Scarborough shoreline. Not
Bluffs.
Scarborough, UK, Scarborough, the Bluffs. Yeah.
I remember that day.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't there.
So I think this is the very first one you did, wasn't it?
I believe it was. I don't know if you or Richard were first.
No, Richard was before me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, this was just a picture you pulled from one of my old videos, I think. So this wasn't actually on the podcast, but this is where it started, and I'm looking suitably stressed and serious for the occasion.
That's right.
Then we get into
Yeah. So this is a podcast that caused a lot of problems, right? Because David and Nathan basically said that they were in a roundabout way asked to deal with or get rid of the Prime Minister, which I still don't think meant kill. I think just meant by any means necessary, get him out of office. Yeah. That's what I thought it meant, but who knows? I don't know how deep the hubris is with the PBCC, but that was an interesting podcast to say the least.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And Nathan Jacobs at Plymouth Brethren Christian Church asked me to, put down the Prime Minister? Was it? I can't remember what the rest of that.
Screenshots.
Yeah.
I think the biggest takeaway from the Nathan Jacobson interviews is that Brad Mitchell had confessed isn't the word. Brad Mitchell had boasted about being behind that. What was it?
Thing?
British Columbia. No, the school story. This rumor in the Buffalo Chronicle that got blown up. You were involved in that.
I was one of the reasons that it blew. And listen, I apologize the next day, but yeah, you're right. He confessed that. I don't know if I think maybe he was trying to take credit for something that wasn't his, because all the people that I heard it from, and I'm not trying to defend the PBCC, were all former Harper staffers. So I thought it was just the work of a Corey Tanecki type character or something like that, like some operative that wanted to put in the ether, knew the right people to call, who would then pick up the phone and call people like me, who then would believe it. Because, dude, I had 4 people that I didn't even think knew each other tell me the same story.
Well, I found something interesting about it, because the Buffalo Chronicle is owned by some quite young guy who he's not even Canadian. He's down in San Francisco in business there, which of course is where Rod Diplock is. Rod Diplock's extremely wealthy. So my
Rod
theory
Diplock is a PBCC member, just for those.
Yeah, Rod Diplock is one of the contacts, along with Brad Mitchell, who sort of organised my kidnapping. I think Rod Diplock and Brad Mitchell went along to the owner of the Buffalo Chronicle. And the other thing is, the owner of the Buffalo Chronicle had actually advertised to do political hit jobs. He'd actually put an advert out saying, if you want anyone taken down, come and speak to me. So I think Diplock and Mitchell went along to this Buffalo Chronicle editor in San Fran and basically gave him $500,000 and said, pull down Trudeau by any means you can. Maybe we need another podcast about that. I just dug up a really interesting breadcrumb trail that led back to that.
Yeah, so these are all the Nathan Jacobson's podcast. For those that haven't seen any of these, please go back on Blackballed and just start going through all of the podcasts that James has done with the PBCC information.
Yeah, you can go to my YouTube page is basically, or Spotify, but there's no clips on Spotify, so the YouTube page has everything. But
we can put the link after the podcast.
Yeah, I'll put the link to Blackballed on here. Yeah.
That picture was lifted from the documentary, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Got my best shirt on.
That was quite. You're kind of tripping me out a little bit. This is almost nostalgic because there was a period of time from May to October where it was just a few dozen, I think, podcasts that were PBCC.
That's all it was. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And and by the way, I'm back now. I know, and I really wanted to let people know. It's super important to let people know that you're back now and that they can reach out to you. Yeah. And I just want to address the elephant in the room with James and his podcast and ex-members. So everybody talks about James's faith. You know what? I don't have any faith. It's okay. It doesn't matter. I pray to me for me. Go on. It just doesn't matter. I don't see why people get so caught up that are hardcore Christians that won't touch James and his podcast because James comes across as an atheist, doesn't have faith, doesn't believe, blah, 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 blah.
And I mean, when you grow up in the Brethren, you're taught that an atheist is something terrible. I mean, the word atheist is said with a special sort of intonation, the same way you speak about Satan. So, it just scares people, And I mean, you have got, you used to have that little pointy beard, James. Probably. Right. Yeah, it was my devil beard. Yeah, you're right. Fed into the image. So, but listen, and that's fine. Even if I knew that I was having a guest on the show who hated my guts because of atheism, I would never bring it up. I don't think I've ever really insulted any guest for believing in what they believe in. I mean, you've got a Christmas tree, for goodness sake. I may have said something offhand where it's well, I mean, we all know that heaven and hell doesn't exist, so that's a pity because he won't be going to hell. I may have said something like that because that's who I am. But it should never be taken as a slight. And it's not about that, right? Yeah. This isn't about anybody's beliefs. This is about a movement that's happening. This is about an end goal that you've poured your heart and soul out. And I mean, good question is I'm sure that these interviews and how much you have helped us has taken a toll on you at times. I'm sure it has. I mean, it couldn't. I mean, hearing the stories that you have heard, I mean, has it affected you? Does it take a bit? Yeah, sometimes it does. Because I also have experience with abuse as a kid, right? So sometimes, it gets to the point where I need a break from it. There was a stint last year where I think I did a dozen shows in 3 weeks, all PBCC, all ex-members. 90% of them were abused. Listening to the stories and whatever. And I noticed that I sort of held on to some of that anger and anxiety when I would go off air. And so I've taken breaks, like intentional breaks from it. But I think the best part is that I always
say to myself, well, let's just get on with it and keep going, because
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm not going to stop doing the shows. I may just, now I'm going to do them once a week kind of thing, and keep it going like that, rather than 4 shows a week.
Yeah, it is. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing too, is just one a week.
And I don't want to, and I don't want to make it sound like it drove me to medication or to the psychiatrist's office or anything, but it is very draining. Like it can be very, and also the way I do the interview is conversational, so it's less mechanical and therefore more emotional, right? Like I'm trying to connect with these people rather than read a question. And if you're successful at connecting with someone who's telling a really sad story, it has to make you sad.
To me, it's that emotional connecting while doing a podcast that just adds this fuel into the movement, right? Because people who are listening and viewing this, they feel that, right? And it is about the heart connection. It is about the emotional connection. But it does. I mean, it does take a toll. I've had many burnouts. But it's definitely one a week is very manageable.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I just want to put on here on the screen right now, Carman Drever was also on James's podcast.
A faith-based person who doesn't judge me for my atheism, by the way.
Yeah. And
Carman.
again,
Shout out to Carman.
Dennis
Yeah,
Ragg
Dennis Ragg.
equally is a very fervent Christian.
Yes. And he was super nice and super.
Oh, he's so sweet,
polite.
isn't he?
Oh, and Dr. Lilac is like one of the most entertaining podcasts I think I've done, because she was in a cult at one time, right?
She certainly was, yeah.
And for an academic, she was remarkably humorous. Did you remember she had to put off the podcast because she was attacked by a turkey or something?
That's right. She
was it her dog was attacked by a turkey? One or the other.
Something like that. And I was like, and I told her on the phone, I'm like, I have to believe you, because like, who would ever make up something like that? Like that's my dog got attacked by a turkey. Okay,
it's kind of what do they call it? Just desserts, because I mean it's Christmas time and we're all attacking turkeys, so it must be fine just for one in a million times a turkey attacks a person.
Yeah, exactly.
You just don't question it, right?
No.
And if anybody's not researched her, she's got an excellent book out. I'm in the middle of reading hers right now.
I see her on CNN. I see her on MSNBC.
She's very active right now. Yeah. And then we go down. Here's another like very fervent Christian, right? Ron Fox.
I don't think he would ever come on my show anymore. No, I'm serious. I don't think I've heard through the grapevine that he's not a big mine. I thought the podcast went really well. I didn't argue with him. I actually let him basically confess and to ask for forgiveness. And I thought it was a very emotional conversation. At the end of this podcast, I remember being like a little bit choked up, because I got off air and everything, and I was like, imagine putting yourself in this person's shoes.
Yeah.
He was the enemy, right? And now the enemy is on camera talking about how he shouldn't have done the things that he did. I gave, you got to give him credit for that. Now
sort of almost like the Nuremberg trials. Perhaps that's an unfortunate comparison.
That might be a little bit of a stretch. And this is Richard in 30 years.
Richard Mark Sr. Oh, he's such an incredible human. Oh,
I called him whimsical, I think. I think that was my word for him. But so that's your uncle, right? Yeah. Richard Marsh?
Yeah.
Oh.
Speak of the devil.
Yep. There he is. James rants over questions sent by the Western Standard to David Wall.
And that's Ezra Levant, for anyone who doesn't know.
Yeah. Oh, God.
And then Jackie Hart was on there.
Yeah. Who was the one that he interviewed that I made the whole thing funny, even though it wasn't a funny story?
Oh, that's never happened, James.
No. This was like...
And Hamilton.
Miss Hamilton. And I did that intentionally because I was afraid of coming off insensitive. I don't remember what the reason was. I think I just wanted a lighthearted show that day. And I was supposed to do a part 2, and I never did. So I should do a part 2 with Anne for sure.
Yeah.
You never really got into the rest of Anne's story.
No, and I should have brought it back, but I just kept going.
Yep.
And then this is Michael Batchelor.
Michael Batchelor is a great interviewer. I think I twice.
And this was my favorite. Oh, I will. Yeah, totally will play a clip of this after this. This was so good. This was one of your best tracks. I loved it.
Yeah, it was interesting. I wrote it in like 5 minutes, 10 minutes or something like that. And I just I can't remember what the reason was, why I decided to do it. It could have been mushrooms, but whatever
It could have been.
it was a fun track. It's fun to do.
Yeah,
So
no, I
for
mean,
anybody-
James is looking appropriately satanic in the picture there, isn't he? I mean, if they
Am
didn't
I?
crop the top of the picture, you'd see the horns pretty clearly, I think.
I don't know if the headline said something like "Atheist saves children." I could believe that too, right? Somehow. I
So
got
for those
headphones
of you
on.
that haven't heard it, here's the clip of it.
3, 2. Yeah.
Those on the track.
Way back in the day, in 1848, this guy named John Darby set out to create a secret way of life where they would not associate with other types of people if those people didn't share faith. Baptized in scorn, families torn. The Plymouth Brethren Christian Church is now officially born. Cult life is forever, and if you ever leave, you're vilified, ostracized, minimized, please, on receiving ends of lies. All the crooked eyes, all the last goodbyes to all your family ties. You can see it in their eyes, it's vacant. Either you a Plymouth Brethren or you Satan. 55,000 deep, they make millions per week through the UBT. Then they do not keep receipts, it's a score. Shit, I think I've seen the show before. A fat guy, envelopes of cash, where's your pork store? Babies indoctrinated and raped and isolated, disgraces. Check the state of the faith, it's complicated complaints. It's all on deafness, you hate this. Places you stayed as a kid were never sacred. The doctrine of separation was written by psychopaths, snatching kids from parents who decided that they want to take a pass on pedophilia, molestation, manipulation, felony fraud. Bruce Hales, you're not a god. What kind of a god eats at the trough with the other pigs? Sloppy piece of shit gods and their piece of shit kids, stealing food from the mouths of the kids you abuse for a second mansion, a plane, and a yacht too. I assume you will soon speak with Jesus too, but shit, you got lunch with Nosferatu at 2. You blew Jesus like a Ronald McDonald. The business model, bravado, providing bottomless fodder for bottom feeders beholden to the bottle. Bloated on the side of the road, it's throttled up and it's cold. It's sort of a metaphor for out of control. Now rise up from the flames, crease away from the fold. Yeah, throw your locality up in the air. Set it on fire like you just don't care. Go on then, like a Bedouin, and turn around and lick a shot at the brethren. Throw your locality up in the air. Set it on fire like you just don't care. Go on then, like a Bedouin. Now turn around and lick a shot at the brethren. I got hope like Cheryl, but most of the time I just want to bust a couple of barrels or a 9 like De Niro, or design war plans, attack the whole clan, make stacks from the old men who diddled and ran. Sinister plans include darkest shit in human nature. Gaying in the brethren, they chemically castrate you. You don't contribute dollars, you're sentenced to the bottom, with weekly priestly visits that accentuates the problem. And hell on earth is Maple Creek, and I know it hurts, but get off your knees and excise that cancer. The pedophiles dance to apathies. Now switch up the playlist, the chance to face this. It's more than a facelift. You're gonna need a spaceship if you are attempting to escape this. See through trees like you're blunted, and big ups to Richard Marshman. Now the hunter is the hunted, cause when that falls and the fat man crawls, someone please let him know he's not welcome on Blackballed. In fact, yo, I make it my mission. I will not rest until this motherfucking cult is out of commission. So throw your locality up in the air. Set it on fire like you just don't care. Go on then, like a Bedouin, or turn around and lick a shot at the brethren. Throw your locality up in the air. Set it on fire like you just don't care. Go on then, like a Bedouin. Now turn around and lick a shot at the brethren. I'd like to give a big fuck you to Bruce Hales. Hi, Brucey.
Oh, there it is. Nathan Jacobson asked to take out Justin Trudeau. Maybe he meant take him out for dinner. You know,
Could have been.
Interesting point there, because I mean, this is the point where they, David and Nathan were talking about Putin having cancer, and just recently there's been news articles that what's wrong with Putin? His cheeks were all puffed up. So, maybe this is another of David's prophecies.
David thinks Putin is
coming
dead.
true. Oh yeah, well, that's also
David thinks
possible.
Putin has been dead since like the spring. And I'm like, I really believe that. He's like, of course I do. And I'm like, you know how many doubles he has? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know how many doubles he has.
Yeah, the one with the double with the fat
Would it
cheeks.
still be called
Yeah.
doubles if there were more than one?
Well, that's a good question, isn't it? Yeah.
Plymouth Brother Church asked me to take out Justin. So that's that of the story. That taking out was removed via scandal.
Yes.
But of course, it was sensationalized by. I guess I was part of the sensationalism. But no, I think I said on the podcast, I'm like, maybe that doesn't mean kill. You know, that'll be quite a story if it meant kill. Maybe someone else might pick up on it.
These aren't all in order, so I apologize to
The
everybody.
Brethren farmers pointless Aussies with bad
this is
spinach.
the spinach.
Well, it's funny because in their recent business seminar, the Brethren were told by their own business gurus that there's a lot of money to be made in a crisis, and sometimes you need to make the crisis happen. So maybe this was a kind of a failed plot to poison half of Australia and then come up with some vaccine against poisonous spinach.
As you can see with the headline of this one, I needed a headline writer. Cheryl Hope and Richard March, the PBC's land scandal and great discussion. Like, it was bad.
What is crazy? And do we have an update on that? Like, what have they fixed it? Do we know if they've gone through and actually restored this?
Yeah, well, the last I saw, I mean, they'd put grass down, they'd put sod down over the whole area, and they got pegs for where they thought the gravestones used to be, and they were going to put the gravestones back. But I don't know if they've actually put the stones back. There was some dispute as to whether they'd put the pegs in the right place. So.
Yeah, I remember.
But they've basically had to reverse everything and put it back like it was. So that's a pretty good outcome.
Yeah, these aren't in order.
Lance Christie interview, that was fun.
Yeah. Craig Hoyle. Yeah.
That was a great interview.
So he's such an incredible. Yeah, he's so articulate. And he's got a new book out, just so everybody knows, called Excommunicated. So if you haven't definitely order it now.
He was writing it when I talked to him. So that's good.
That's out. Yeah.
I haven't received mine yet. So we're in Canada, so it's a little bit later. But once I've read it, we'll have him on Get a Life and we'll go through it. And Terry Smith.
There she is.
Joined in with all the Maple Creek fiasco.
Yep.
Heidi McCamley.
Yeah.
Another ongoing battle. And which
her story is really sad.
Yeah, such a sad story. We'll update when we can.
Yeah. The original Ratfucker. Yeah. David Wallace. We still might do a podcast.
Yeah, what happened to his podcast? Like, what you guys were starting a podcast, or he was starting a podcast?
Oh, just time and me being busy. I'm going to Milwaukee again in a couple of days, so
okay.
Just through freelance work and everything. So it's just a matter of getting it done. I might just do it all remote because I think David has a producer, so we might just do that. And we're gonna do. I don't know what we're gonna call it, but Ratfucker was what Jesse Brown used for his podcast series, but he lifted that from David. So we might do a series called The Original Ratfucker or Ratfucker Origin Story or something like that.
Just call it Fuck Ratter.
Yeah.
Or Fat Rucker.
Canadaland fucker. Oh, she's hilarious.
Betsy, yeah. Again,
her sense of humor is like, she's super funny. Yeah.
Such a sad story too, though.
Yeah,
but she's just so... her
perseverance
joy though, right? Yeah.
She's got such good perseverance. Oh,
there's Anne Hamilton. Yeah. So you'll have to do part 2 with her.
This is weird. All this stuff coming back at me. Like I remember, I don't even know how many more
it's
you
a lot.
have.
That's why we wanted to do this, is to really show our viewers and listeners and you of like really how much you have contributed to this movement to what it is today. Lane Admiral.
Lane is the most photogenic ex-member of all time.
Yeah, he is. And then here's just another clip of
Put Me on Ice.
Plymouth Brethren Christian Church asked me to put Richard Marsh on ice.
Maybe they meant Johnny Walker, and it wasn't even about
you. Could have been.
Yeah.
All open for interpretation, isn't it?
Oh, there it is.
Yeah. This is my second one that I did with you.
Oh, okay.
This is where these are really not in order. I thought they were, but they're obviously
that's
not
okay.
in order in the file.
Yeah.
So this is when Lane and I came on. And then, she worked for UBT.
Yeah.
Actually had like direct, conversation with the man of God himself.
Yeah,
That's
who called her a whore or something. Yeah.
She
Charming.
had
Yeah.
tattoo. Oh, and then this story broke my heart.
I know. It was
She
like Romeo and Juliet,
sincerely-
kind of.
right?
Yeah.
She sincerely wanted in. Like this was such a testament to the falseness of how they say anybody can join. Like, no, you can't. Yeah. So if you haven't watched her podcast, oh man, definitely watch her podcast.
Yeah.
This is when I was on after David Wallace on one podcast.
Yeah.
I think it was after CBC put out their little clip. And Bradley McCallum,
Yeah.
who
He
has
was fun
been
to talk
a
to.
core help to our movement with the history on Aberdeen. Again, another like horrible story when you hear his. Oh man, my heart broke when
The way he was treated. Yeah. He's just done another podcast for us about the Aberdeen incident. I mean, he's an excellent historian and researcher, and he's put together a really, really good podcast, which I recommend.
All the Aberdeen evidence.
Everyone listens to that for sure.
And Ben Woodbury from
Oh,
Windsor, Australia.
really fun to talk to as well. Ben was great.
He's-
He was like exquisite, I would say. Like the way that he handled the interview. Really, like he was very thoughtful, articulate. He was just a great guy to have on the show.
Great personality.
Yeah.
Such a good personality. And if you don't follow him on TikTok, make sure you go find him on TikTok. He's known as Ex-Cult Boy. He has a huge following.
Yeah.
He's also got a YouTube channel.
Oh, there we go.
This is when we all came on. Huh.
Wow. How come I don't have a Patreon?
Right?
This is just like, this is so much content. I didn't realize how much this is, like hundreds of hours of podcasts.
That's what I
probably,
mean.
Yeah.
And like dozens of articles.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was this. I mean, I sort of did, but I never thought of it.
I think too, James, you did a lot of articles on some of these podcasts as well as the podcast itself that you did, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of written work, which is really good. I love your writing on that. I mean, we maybe should put it all together into a
I think that too. We should put
your
it all
own
together.
website or something. Yeah.
So that people can.
Yeah, of course you can send me
Sometimes
money. Why not? Is that what you said?
What's that?
I said, of course you can send me money. Why not? I'm just kidding about the money.
You can have
You know what?
50% of everything I've earned, James.
That's right. The money thing is funny because I never think of the money when I do these stories, like, because it's the first time where this literally is the first time that I've done so much content on one thing because I felt like, not because I had to, but because I wanted to.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what's so genuine and authentic about your involvement with this whole movement, that it had no ulterior motive. It just was, you were drawn into it. It landed on your lap and away you went with it. So
I thought I was going to get sued 100 times between when I started and now. I really did, because there was like, why are all these other people getting sued, but I'm not? Like, don't think I'm compelling enough to sue?
Well, I mean, I think one of the answers there is that Ontario actually has some of the strongest anti-slap laws on the planet. So you're actually in a good place if you want to produce this kind of content. I mean, either here or in the USA, but it's they can kind of pretend to take a suit against you in Alberta, but it doesn't have any effect in Ontario.
Peter.
And this is Peter Hart. He was on.
Yeah, that probably might be one of the guys that doesn't like me. Just saying. We don't have to talk about it. Let's move on.
This might be one of the guys that doesn't like you.
Yeah, this guy definitely doesn't like you.
Do you think he knows who I am? This guy, Bruce Harris?
Oh, I'm sure he does. Yeah.
I think he's got a dartboard. Looks like
you're his nemesis.
Yeah.
This is the podcast we did and released the audio of, was it Strive 23, I think?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was.
I can't. You can do an Australian accent, James. What was it? The half of my goods I give to the poor. Remember that?
Yeah, Bruce, I can't do an Aussie accent. Dean Blundell can do a really good Aussie accent.
Oh, so this is at the very beginning again. Look at Richard.
Richard, you look like a punk rocker. You look like you're about to sing a Radiohead cover.
Yeah.
Radiohead is the band, Richard.
It's not hair. It's just the band of my earphones.
So this is when David Wallace was on with you.
Yep.
And then this is Damien Hasty.
Oh, I love Damien.
Shout out to Damien. Man, like
absolutely, yeah.
Hardest working man in the PBCC universe, I think, right? Like just the amount of work that he does to try to
put in so much work. And again, like it was just like you, James, he has no ulterior motive other than to expose what he's realizing isn't being exposed. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I was thinking? I was the ideal person to get all engrossed in this because of my criticism of religion and my interest in politics. It's literally just those two things smushed together.
Yeah.
And I don't know very many other subjects in this world that I'm interested in that have that two-pronged sort of attraction. Oh, yeah.
Another horrible story. That she's such a survivor. So another huge survivor. Lara Payne.
Yeah.
Yeah, Laura she's also one of the first guests where it dawned on me that the strange and kind of impressive way that victims of this cult have a tendency to forgive their perpetrators. Mostly because she knows that her perpetrator probably was abused him or herself. Mm-hmm. And that to me, like I walked away from this interview thinking about that a lot. Like this is one of those interviews that resonated. I think I took a break. I may be mistaken, but I feel like I took a break after this one because, I was trying to wrap my head around that whole thing. Like, well, how much strength does it take to tell your story? But then how much additional strength does it take to say that you forgive the person that did this to you because the same thing probably happened to him? Mm-hmm. That was really,
I
mean, this was a really hard story to listen to.
It was,
and she's doing great. She's still on, she still speaks to a lot of ex-brethren, helps them and encourages them. But, we don't want to, just because this interview was a long time ago, we mustn't forget that this happened and that there has not been justice.
Yeah. And I think that was one of the reasons why I wanted to do this is because we have, Get a Life has got, this is going to be podcast, I think, is it 83? I don't even know. And so I think it's important that we remember all of these survivors who have had the courage to come on and tell horrifying stories that we still think of you, right? You're still always on our mind. And I think it's important that we do this kind of reminiscing and remind people of why we do what we're doing, who we're fighting for. And it's just, it's super important to not lose sight of some of the really horrible stories of people that, I battle all the time, even though we can come on, like she puts this brave face on. You think of Beth C, like all these horrible stories, Craig Hoyle, Bradley McCallum, and we put these brave faces on to fight this fight. But in fighting the fight, it takes a added amount of determination and passion and resilience because you're in it all the time. It's not like you've put your story out there and then you've gone on your life over here. It's not, you're in it all the time because you are interviewing people that have very similar stories to yourself. And so I just want to give a shout out to all those survivors that have come on Get a Life and have gone on to Blackballed, that we hear you, we're with you, and we see you with everything, helping us fight the fight. I know what you're going through.
And another point I'd like to make is that the Brethren, and particularly the Brethren leadership, watch all of these videos. They watch all of Get a Life. They watch all the Blackballed videos you do. And think of how many horror stories that have been brought out on there, and not a single one of those victims have the Brethren had the decency to come forward and say, well, we didn't know what had happened, and, this is horrific, and is there anything we can do to help, and we're sorry about it. Absolute silence.
Nothing.
So they know all this has happened and they've just blanking it out.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah. Again, part of the Ratfucker series.
I had Jesse Brown on too for the Ratfucker stuff.
You did, yeah, Jesse and Charisse, yeah.
I mean, I traded him. He hates my guts, but I traded him. I'm like, if you come on the show, I won't scoop you on the Nenshi story that I know is the subject of your second podcast. And he's like, fine, thank you for that. That was like overwhelming almost. Like I can't believe that I've done that many podcasts. I guess I can believe it, but it is really the niche. You know what a lot of people have told me? They've said you should only do that. Only do ex-cult members, not just Plymouth Brethren, but other religions and other cults, whatever. And I don't think I could. I could if it was like once a week and then that's it. But when I do podcasts, I usually want to do 3, 4, 5 shows a week because I just want to. But I can't do that many shows on that particular topic.
Mentally, you wouldn't be able to do it. No.
Dude, in order to take a break from the horrific stories of the Plymouth Brethren, I interviewed the reporter who broke the Jeffrey Dahmer story. So that gives you an idea.
That gives you a little bit of an insight of like what your break was, hey?
That's right. Yeah. Awesome. Well, it's been a real trip though, too, guys, with you. Like really happy that your podcast is doing so well. I watch it almost all the time. I'm really like, I like the idea of knowing that while I could never take credit for the things that you guys do and how you stood up for things, I like being like a cog in that wheel, just because it makes me feel, that something I've done was worth something. That's another thing about this. Yeah.
I would have never, James, I would have never, ever started this. I would have never. This is the last thing. If somebody had come to me and said, hey, like, Cheryl, you're going to start a podcast, I'd be like, you're out of your mind. I have lived in a cave, a shell for like 30 years. I'm like, no way. And I think it was helping you get the ex members on. It was coming on and getting more comfortable. And then till just one day, I was talking to Richard on the phone and it was just like, I think we need to do this, right? I think, and I would have never done it had you not shown me that this was possible, that this was needed, right? And I think that's super important that we stay working and doing this side by side because you do draw in a different crowd than we draw in, right? And I really, really encourage the ex-members who have not gone on your show to tell their story that I think it's super important because all exposure on whatever shape or format you can do, whether it's a book, whether it's a podcast, whether it's whatever it is, it's super important to get it out there right now when we've just hit them with all this Aberdeen stuff. And I know it's really opened up a crack inside there from what the insiders are reporting back to us, that this Aberdeen is an issue. So I just say, stand on this foundation that we've created and let's continue feeding this crack in there so that something does happen. Yes, people try and move away from, why are you guys doing this? Like, let's just let the things rest. Let the past rest. The past is never going to rest.
The past is the present.
Exactly. If we don't deal with the past, that church is going to take hold of things that we don't want them to take hold of. And it is us coming forward and exposing what really is going on in there that is going to make this change. And
if there's religious members, like ex-members who are religious and don't like my lack of faith, I'm the type of person where you can tell me that on the phone or in an email and just be yourself and just be like, listen, I if I come on your show, can we just not like trash religion? I will absolutely say yes. It's not because it's not about that for me. Like I'll trash religion on Casual Friday. Do you know what I mean? Like I won't do it I won't do it for a guest that I know believes. I don't think look, I might have slipped and done that once if I've ever done that, but I don't think I've ever mocked anybody to coming on my show, especially the bravery that it takes to come on my show and tell these stories. I cannot see myself being like, well, first of all, you believe in a space god or whatever. Like I would never do that. Yeah. I would come up with a far better joke than that, but I still wouldn't do that, like like live on air or off the air. James is going to respect your beliefs and where you are in life. It's this, you put the rest aside. At the same time, just so we're not confused about it, I don't want someone coming on my show and being like, oh, well, praise be to God, because we all know that God is the reason. Once someone starts doing that, I might be a little bit prone to be like, all right, let's move on. Because it's a give and take. You're there to tell your story about how you were excommunicated and had the abuse and the things that happened to you because you left. I want I don't want to insult you by insulting religion or criticizing religion. At the same time, I don't want to be left off track or thrown off track by praising Jesus 4, 5, 6 times. That happened once. I don't remember who it was, and I was like, by the end, I was like, all right, yeah, it's okay. Like, so believe in anything they want to believe in, but we're there to talk about the cult and the excommunication and the abuse. And so I hope that doesn't deter the people that I just convinced to come on the show. But it's just like, it's not about religion at all for me. It's about the weaponization of a certain type of sect, and how I think it's the worst thing ever when you see people like Dennis Ragg and Carman and people that I know are believers, and how they had their faith weaponized, and both of you as well, when you were still in, weaponized against them and their own well-being. That is what I find really, really heinous, because
Really offensive.
it's so offensive. Because, and look, I've softened on religion in the last few years. I've told the story a million times, but I guess this is the first time on your podcast. But it stuck with me when Kobe Bryant and his daughter died in a helicopter accident. I remember, because I have a daughter who was, I think she was 5 at the time that this happened, and I was like trying to imagine what Kobe Bryant was thinking and feeling and doing as the helicopter was about to crash and he had his daughter in his arms, or whatever the case may be. And then I started thinking, like, because I like to torture myself, what would I do if I survived something like that and my daughter didn't? And the very first thing that came to mind was how envious I am of people of faith when they're grieving. And I'm not even being close to a sarcastic about that whatsoever. I am 100% purely envious and jealous of not having the ability to, in a dark moment like that, turn to something that would make me feel better, even just for a moment.
Yeah.
My daughter's in a better place. I would pay and kill in order to have that feeling if I was just stuck in a situation that dark and horrendous. So I don't have a problem with people and their faith. I guess I have a big problem with when people like leaders of these cults and the PBCC and Bruce Hales and whoever, when they weaponize that belief in God for financial gain, and to reconcile how they abuse and oppress women and children. That's where when faith gets weaponized against you like that's I have a big problem with that. But I have no problem with people of faith. I really don't. Just as long as it doesn't hurt other people, I'm fine with it.
Thank you so much, James. We so appreciate. There's so many people behind me and behind Richard, behind Carman, behind Lane that are very grateful for you.
Well, I'm also grateful. That feeling's mutual. So thank you guys.
Okay. Thanks so much for joining us. Until next time, everyone, take care. Much love to you all.
Please visit Blackballed with James DiFiore on YouTube for all his podcasts he's done regarding the PBCC and survivors. Please contact James at james.difiore@gmail.com to be a guest on his show.
To share your story or be a guest on the show, email info.getalife@proton.me. Please remember to like this video, subscribe to Get a Life, and comment.